Hello, this is Reverend Don Lewis coming to you from the beautiful metaverse, and more specifically from beautiful Danville, Illinois, homeland of the Corellian tradition and of Gaia Thrift. And this is Midday with Reverend Don. Welcome. And with me is my guest, Krys Copeland from the Netherlands. Welcome, Krys.
Good to be here. Thank you, Reverend Don. Good to see you again.
Good to see you. And as you know, if you follow Midday with Reverend Don, you can type your questions or comments into whatever platform you're watching on. They will show up here in the chat room. Because I have a guest today, I don't have the chat room on the screen, but we will be able to see it. And we love to hear from you. And we were actually just discussing lighting. And
How terrible
oh,
mine is today.
hello to Corvin in the chat room. It's good to see you, Corvin.
Hi, Corbin. Good to see you.
Mine is better today. I'm in a new room. I'm not in the office I used to be in. I'm on the ground floor now, where it should be a little warmer for the winter. And I've been having a little difficulty getting the lighting properly aligned. But today, I've moved it a little bit, and I'm much happier with it. So yay!
It's
Still a
good.
little green around the gills, but what are you going to do?
Yeah, mine's pretty dark right now because one of my lamps is out over here. I typically have
Mhm.
a spotlight over here that's not working right now. So,
Yeah, I'm lamp lit also, and I moved it to the other side of the computer, and that seems to have eliminated the shadow that was causing the problem.
yeah,
I have a lovely new professional light, but during the move downstairs, we lost the cord for it, so I've got to find or replace that, and then I'll probably have better lighting yet. And why am I worried about lighting? Because I'm just that kind of person. Same reason I was breathlessly looking for a tie pin before we came on the air, but could not find it. So no tie pin today.
it
Um,
started snowing in the Netherlands today.
oh,
Yes,
I saw.
already.
Well, it can't be that far off here either, but we haven't had it yet. And in fact, it's been this last couple of days been nicely warm, not
It,
by summer standards, but by November standards. So I'm happy with that.
it doesn't typically snow here. Sometimes a little bit in December, but most of the
Mhm.
time we don't see anything until January.
And hello to Ed the Pagan in the chat room. Good to see you,
Hi,
Ed.
Ed. Good to see you. And
And
speaking of Ed, if anyone has ordered the Witch Horse book, it has been shipped out.
yeah,
So every order that we've had so far is out the door, and
mhm.
we're excited to see what people think about it. So if you have purchased one, please let us know. And if you haven't yet, you can find it at CorellianPublishing.com.
And I know that a couple of people have already received it because I've seen the mention, and a
Great.
couple of other people are still waiting, but they should have it any day now. And Ed says that snow is, if I understand correctly, snow is not expected until late December, which works perfectly for me. I'm quite happy to wait till late December for snow.
Yeah,
Uh,
I am not used to snow at all, being from Texas, so this is all quite still new to me. Very new.
well, I grew up here in central Illinois, north central Illinois, where we always had snow as a thing, but some years, as now, were warmer than others. And hello to Walid Amjad in the chat room. It's good to see you, Walid. And
Hi,
Walid
Waleed.
says,
Good to
hello,
see
I'm new here. Well, welcome. I hope you enjoy it.
And if you have any questions, let us know. We'd be happy
Mhm.
to chat with you.
I remember when I was a child, snow that was 3 feet deep, which was about as tall as I was at that time. And then we had several years with little or no snow. And I remember thinking, did I just imagine snow like that? And then the late '70s came, and we got another series of heavy winters. And I unfortunately remembered that no, it was not imagination.
I didn't see a lot of snow until I started traveling to different places as an adult. As a child, I saw snow one time, and it was like it was more mud than
Yeah.
snow, really frozen mud. And I saw fake snow once at Six Flags. So we got to
Hmm,
in like 60-degree weather, we got to sled down the snow hill at Six Flags.
that's
I think
cool.
you can still do that there every winter too.
I remember I loved the snow when I was a child, and my grandmother said to me, well, that may change as you get older. And she was right.
Now
Although,
my fibromyalgia hates snow. So
if I still had the relationship to snow that I had at the age that I was when we had that conversation, I'd probably still love it because I could go out and play in it if I wanted to, but I had nowhere I had to be.
Yeah.
Um, I was not doing buses or anything like that. Um, now, I have to be out in the snow, so I just assumed there was none. We were talking earlier about the developing feudal age, and that I'm quite happy to be here in Illinois as opposed to Florida, except for one thing, and that one thing is snow,
Mm.
or actually the ice. It's the
I
ice
feel
more than
this.
the snow.
I feel the same about the Netherlands, especially
Yeah,
today. So,
yeah.
yeah, I am missing warm weather for sure. I think in Texas today it's around 55, 60 degrees. So I miss that weather. Thank you.
I found a lot of people in Florida really missed seeing the progression of the seasons, like we do here in Illinois, because Florida has seasons, but they don't vary that much from one another.
Yeah,
Uh,
tropical is tropical, so it pretty
yeah,
much stays that way.
but Jacksonville was more like southern Georgia, but still, there really was no winter by Illinois standards.
Yeah,
Uh,
semi-tropical. That's the same kind of
yeah,
climate that Texas has.
yeah. I mean, occasionally it would be freezing, but only briefly during the night, and then it would go. Occasionally there might be snow every few years, but it would be gone by noon. And now here I am in Illinois, and I'm happy to have a nice big winter coat, and I will need it.
I had to learn what a winter coat was because I thought that
Mhm.
was just my heavier hoodie, and
Oh
apparently
no,
that's not the same thing. So
no, it's
it's
not.
not a Texas winter coat that you need here.
In
Uh,
Florida, they bring the winter coats out when it hits 70, but their winter coats are not my idea of a winter coat either. And hello to
Chris,
Christine in the chat room, who says the seasons are such powerful magic for me, and that's true.
very true.
I hope you're doing well, Christine.
Hello, Christine. Good to see you. And yeah, it's the same for me too. I feel most connected with my spirituality when it has to do with nature. Like I feel more energetic, I'm more at peace when I'm around
Hmm.
something with water. Um, if I'm outside more, my mood is improved. I have a
Hmm.
lot of like seasonal, not really depression issues, but more sadness issues. Just
I have to watch for the seasonal thing because I
yeah,
find that in the winter I don't have enough vitamin D, so I have to increase that. And I'm glad you've reminded me of that because I haven't thought of that yet this year. But it's about time to go out and buy some vitamin D.
yeah, and also if you use a UV light, speaking of lighting,
Hmm.
use a UV light in your office, and you'll get the amount of sun that you need every day too.
I may have to look into that. Thank
Um,
you.
it's a
When I
great
was
one.
yeah,
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
when I was young and still in school, I'd do great in the fall and the first semester, and come the second semester, I would all my grades would go down, and I never understood why because they hadn't really identified the seasonal um, affective disorder thing um, until years after that, and Ed the Pagan is reminding me of vaccines for flu,
Yeah, make sure you
which
get vaccinated.
yeah, I guess so. I will give in and do it because, as he's pointed out, I would die. Um, for many years I never thought about it or worried about it because I never get the flu. So I figured, why should I get a vaccine for something I never get? But I was living in Florida, not here, and I was younger. And yeah, he's right. It would be far more dangerous for me now than it was then. So I guess I'll give in and do it.
Definitely anyone that's, a bit older or has some
Hmm.
health issues or concerns like that, definitely get vaccinated, or at least talk to your doctor about getting vaccinated if
Yeah.
you're not sure. But yeah, it's the same with fibromyalgia.
Hmm.
I get this newspaper. It's called Fess, but it's the Dutch newspaper
Hmm.
or magazine for people with fibromyalgia.
Oh.
And one of their articles this for the fall issue was to expect that your symptoms get worse because they get worse for most people with fibromyalgia.
Hmm.
And I won't say everyone because extremes are never a good direction to go,
Yeah.
but definitely a lot of people experience this flare up, and it has to do with the fact that our blood is not circulating as well. So we
Yeah.
have more muscle cramps, we have more fatigue, we have more brain fog, and yeah, it's really hard to combat that. If
Mm.
the weather is cold, the weather is cold.
Yeah. And yeah, and similar for me, except from the age and the health, that I can't expect things will work the way they used to work.
Yeah.
So, and yeah, if I ended up with pneumonia, it probably would kill me at this point.
So stay safe. We need you.
Yep. So, on that charming and happy note, oh, and hello to Moon Dancer in the chat room.
And Moon Dancer makes a very good point. Some people
Mm.
just don't react well to vaccines. So you know yourself, you know your body, and with advice
Hmm.
from your doctor or whoever you trust for that, make the right decision for you.
Hmm.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
it's a very
It
good point, Moon Dancer.
and Moon Dancer remarks that they are one of those people.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I mean, it is important to remember that different people have different reactions. And hello to Sir Mike Nelson in the chat room. It's good to see you. And
hi,
Mike
Sir
is
Mike.
giving his greetings from Canada.
Yeah, thanks for joining in today. I'd love to hear where everyone else is from today. Moon Dancer asked for some natural ways to build up immunity and gave an example of vitamin C, of course. That's a great one. And to start early with that, I think I'll also add that
Hmm.
advice. Start early with vitamin C because it doesn't work if you're already sick. You got to have it in your system and build that up over time.
Mm.
B12, yeah. And also, Moon Dancer mentions that local honey contains a lot of B12. Yeah, all of your B vitamins, and if you're not sure you have your B vitamins, enough of them, see if you can get your blood tested for it to see what your levels are. That can be really important. A lot of people have magnesium shortages, iron shortages, and all of that can really negatively affect our body. We need to have Moon Dancer write a book on this homeopathic medicine here.
it
Ed's from Chicago, yeah, another
Yep.
Chicagoan.
It and one of the things people don't think about with oh, and hello to Charles Oren in the chat room. It's good to see you, Charles. And
Another
Charles,
Texan. Good
yeah,
to see you.
and Corbin is
Howdy.
in Ann Arbor. So yeah,
Uh,
we have quite a distribution of viewers today, and
yeah.
lots of familiar names. It's good to see you. Um, and what's interesting is in the run up to the program, we were actually talking about some of the people whose names I never see in the chat room, and they're here today, which is
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. I
Uh,
think Mike was one of the ones that we brought
mhm.
up.
Yeah,
I think because we were mistaking him with another Mike that
yeah.
had placed
We,
an
we,
order
we,
or
we were
something. Yeah.
confusing mics, but we're talking about the current orders at Corellian Publishing, which of course actually brings us back toward our subject, and what's gone out and what is still in the process of going out. And yes, we're still waiting on the Tarot of Hecate, but they should be in soon. It is unfortunately kind of up to the vagaries of international shipping at this point. But we will
Yeah.
let you know as soon as we have an exact date, and you should have them here soon.
As soon as we know something, we will let you know. And if we don't know something, we'll also keep that regularly updated too.
Yeah,
Uh, but yes, thank you so
but
much for everyone who's ordered those and who's been so patient with
yeah,
them.
and
They
if you've
will be
ordered
coming.
the Witch Wars Defense Manual, you should have it by now, or you will have it in the next day or so.
Yeah.
And we've had a couple. There are a couple of other orders that have recently gone out that were less specific, and of course, we also have a number of orders for Reverend Don's Book of Stones, Metals, and Crystals, which have not gone out because we're not done with it yet.
Yeah, we're still working on it. And I was just reading through the section today. This is what I wanted to bring up for conversation because it was so interesting. We touched on it last week about whether or not to use lab grown stones in
Hmm.
your spell work. And there's the section that you have in here about the arguments for using it as well as the arguments against using it. Um, and both from like a scientific point of view as well as from a metaphysical point of view. So the 4 points that were made about the scientific benefits are that, of course, they're more affordable. They are more environmentally sustainable.
Hmm.
You can control the quality of them, so
Hmm.
everything is uniform, which is also really important. I learned for spell work itself, for working with the
It
crystals,
is, yes.
yeah, especially for grid work. If you have uniformity in your crystal grid,
Hmm.
that can create the make the energy flow more smoothly, just
Well,
like
yeah.
energy through a line.
And that to me is the biggest issue with a lab grown stone versus a natural one, other than expense, because you can actually get, depending on your budget, some of the more expensive stones in a lab grown version that you could not possibly get otherwise. Much like cultured pearls versus natural ones, or freshwater pearls versus the more expensive ones. But um, the thing about a lab grown stone is it's going to be much more archetypically what that stone represents. Whereas if it's a natural one, it can have quite a bit of idiosyncrasy to it. And that can be good, but it isn't necessarily going to be what you're looking for a particular thing. And and Ed says, think lasers. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Hello to Mary. It's good to see you, Mary Hawk, in the chat room.
Hi, Reverend Mary.
And it is, well, Lady Crystal's ruby, um, which was also my mother's ruby and my grandmother's ruby and great grandmother's ruby. But it's a lab grown ruby. One of the things I think people don't realize is how long we've been doing that. We learned how to grow crystal well over 100 years ago. And so Moondancer says, so theoretically, the ones that are uniform would have the same frequency, the same vibe. Yes, absolutely. That's the point. Whereas
Theoretically,
the
yeah, but
ones
I
that
think
are,
testing them is very important for that, for sure.
well, yeah. But the thing is, a lab grown stone has not existed for the millions of years that a natural one has. So it hasn't had the time to deviate from um, the stereotypical meanings of that stone. It will still be much more what you expect from it. Whereas the longer ones, the natural ones that have been developing for thousands and millions of years, can have deviated in many different ways, which is not bad, but you have to be aware of it.
Yeah.
And Moon Dancer says, how would we test that? Mostly from
Trial and
feeling.
error. Yeah.
Yeah,
Just using it.
feel the aura of the stone, maybe talk to its higher self. If you're not familiar with how to do that, it's in chapter 12 of First Degree.
And there's also a section in the Book of Stones about how to work with
Yeah,
the personality of a stone. So
it will tell you if you ask it what its idiosyncrasies are, um, to the extent that it knows it itself. You may find you may find still more through working with it that, but
and
it
of
kind of
course,
depends what you want the stone for.
yeah.
And as Krys was saying, if you're doing stone grids, you want a more archetypal stone for it, um, or you want to be prepared to accommodate the idiosyncrasy of a particular stone. But if they're all idiosyncratic, it's going to be a little more complex. And how idiosyncratic do stones get? Some natural stones are perfectly archetypal, but not always. And sometimes they can function totally different from what you're expecting of them because they've developed different skills.
I think about it like people in a swimming pool. If you have a
Hmm.
bunch of synchronized swimmers swimming together, it's going to be very uniform.
Hmm.
If it's a free for all public pool and all the kids are from the neighborhood are in there, you're going to have it going a thousand different ways.
Yes.
So it's really important to make sure you pick the stones that are going to give you the results that you want.
And Sir Mike says, I would love to order the Stones
Oh
book and
no.
support. However, our postal service is on strike.
Oh.
That's
Well, we have an
horrible.
ebook available, and I'm sorry to hear
Oh, well,
about your
that's
postal
true.
strike. Yeah, so if you don't mind using, I know some people prefer a physical copy, but if you don't mind using the ebook version, that is an option, and it's
Yeah.
usually less than half the price.
Once the final editing is done.
Yeah.
The
And
final
we're
editing
hoping
is
for that.
always the hardest part.
Yes, we're hoping for that to be done by December. It really depends on my schedule with Speak Your Own Book over the next few weeks.
Hmm.
As you all know, I do volunteer work with Crowley and Publishing, but I also have a day job. So as
Hmm.
soon as I get everything kind of flowing again there the way it needs to be, then I will have some more time to invest into editing the book, which there's not much left.
Yeah.
So.
And shortly after that, we will have Mabel's Crystal Capers, I believe.
Yes, I'm so excited about this one. So
Yeah.
this one is going to be written by, well, it has been written by
Yeah.
Lady Alyssa.
Yeah.
We're basically at the point where we're designing the art, and Reverend Don, you'll be doing the characters
Yes.
for this.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
what's taking so long.
well,
The writing's been done for a while.
also with mine, I'm creating the backgrounds of the scene so that because that's basically kind of set every time, and I can use some graphic design software for that, so it's not too challenging. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how the characters come out and how they come to life in the story. But this is, if you're interested in purchasing children's books, especially, this one is great, I think, for very young children as a
Hmm.
bedtime story, all
Yeah.
the way up to 10 or 12 years old or so, especially if they're still, if they're late readers, maybe they're still getting their training wheels off at 12, that's okay. You can buy them high quality books that are still built for their level.
And
And I think that one would qualify for sure.
yeah. Mr. Mike says, "Oh, I may have to order the ebook then." And then when the strike is done, get the printed book. Yes, absolutely. Buy them both. We love
Yeah,
that.
that's wonderful. Thank you.
He remarks that he enjoys having me sign them.
Yeah, we try to do that most of the time. We can't always do that, so we try. We don't guarantee it, but as much as possible, we try
I yeah.
to do that.
If they come through the office here, I will usually sign them.
Yeah.
We had one go out recently straight from Amazon, which of course I could not sign. But usually we have them here first. And of course I don't sign other authors' books.
And Moondancer mentions that there is a local mine where
Mm-hmm.
they source theirs, and I think that's actually something you talk about in the book is how to find these local
Mm-hmm.
places where you can source stones morally and properly. So yeah, that's a great point to make. That if we can find a locally run, family owned, or
Mm-hmm.
something like that
Yeah.
mine that treats its people well, that you know it the situation there, and that you support that company.
And hello to
Miranda,
Miranda Davis. And
yes,
did we talk about the Hecate Tarot release date yet?
yeah,
As soon as they get them to us.
yeah. Briefly, we talked about how we don't have the release date yet, but we are working on that. It's just taking
We're
much longer
at
than
this
we
point,
hoped.
because we use an international company. We're waiting for them to arrive.
Yeah.
And we're waiting. We should have an announcement soon, and they should be here soon. But hello to Renee in the chat room. It's good to see you, Renee.
Hi, Renee. Thank you for being here. Yeah, so going back to the stones,
Mhm.
we talked about some of the positives that a lot of practitioners say happens when they work with lab grown stones, but there are arguments against it as well. And I think Moondancer briefly mentioned something about it, like as far as the energy itself.
Mhm.
There are a lot of practitioners who feel that if it hasn't been like embedded into the earth, that
Mhm.
the energy itself comes from the earth, that it's lacking that deep earth energy, that it did not go through the natural process, so therefore it's kind of disconnected. Which, yeah, there's an argument to be made that could be possible. Which certainly I think something that has been through the eons of time would build up more energy than something
Well,
that
yeah.
was made last week. And also the fact that the energy is artificial, that it's not something natural, is another argument. But I think like energy itself is often just transformed from natural purpose or from natural forms. Like in the lab, for example, you're going to use heat and pressure, the
Mhm.
same
Yes.
building blocks as outside the
Yeah.
lab.
And, to
So
some extent, I would say that everything is ultimately part of nature. And this idea that some people have that things that we make are, quote, not natural. The things we make are as natural as a beaver dam or a termite city. Those things don't naturally occur on their own, but they're part of nature nonetheless because everything that exists is nature. Now, Mary says you could bury the stones in the ground for a while. Well, yes,
I
you
saw
could.
that. That's an excellent point. Yeah, I think building up that energy. I mean, we do that anyway when we get a new crystal. We,
Hmm.
cleanse it with some form of energy by either burying it or putting in moonlight or sunlight,
Hmm.
or putting oils on it. So there's definitely a lot of ways you can infuse more energy into it, as well as cleanse any lab energy that's left over.
Yeah.
And Mike has a great question about the deck of fairies, if it will ever become available as an expansion. I'm actually not familiar. Do we have a deck of fairies?
I believe that this is something we were working on at one point, and it's possible something may happen in the future, but I don't know at this moment
I do know
because
that
it was a different artist.
Sarah Hartsong is considering doing a ritual recipe box deck for fairies. So keep an eye out for that probably within the next year to 2 years. We've got a lot of projects already lined up for 2025. So the pressure is on to make sure they all come together and get done.
We are gluttons for punishment.
Yeah,
Now,
yes.
we must take a moment for a message from our sponsors. Why? Because we love our sponsors. As I say every day at this moment. Ready to unlock the secrets of the universe? Join me, Reverend Don Lewis, for my metaphysical and magic auctions at Gaia Thrift at whatnot.com. Discover fascinating artifacts, mystical crystals, and rare and unusual books that could change your life. Don't miss this chance to bring a little magic into your world. Reverend Don's Metaphysical and Magic Auctions, where the extraordinary can become yours. And we want to thank our sponsors, Equinox Learning Hub and Reverend Don's Metaphysical and Magic Auctions. Our next auction is scheduled for Black Friday, I believe. And we will have some fascinating things. And they're going down to the bottom of the chat room. Mary says, yes, we love our sponsors. We do.
Yes.
With that, we have actually used our half hour. So again, we want to let people know if they're waiting on the Witch Wars Defense Manual, it should be there today or in the next day or so. If you are waiting on Reverend Don's book of stones, metals, and crystals, we're still in the final editing, but it won't be too awfully long. And if you're waiting on the Tarot of Hecate, we're waiting on the shipment. And we will hopefully have something more definite soon. But it's taken longer than expected, but when you're dealing with international shipping, sometimes that happens. But you will have them in your hands soon. And we want to thank everyone for their patronage. We want to thank everyone for joining us today. Krys, thank you for joining me today. And let us close with our prayer, as we always do. Divine Mother Goddess, Divine Father, God, beloved ancestors, we thank you for all that you do for us in our lives, and we rejoice in this walk we walk together. And we ask you to help us always to learn interesting new things and to find the fascinating things in life. We thank you with great love, and knowing you're always with us from respect, we thank you for your presence, and may you be blessed now and always. May you be blessed now and always, and I'll be back tomorrow.